Oh, yeah. Baby, 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 boo. Hey, bundle baby. We should make a baby. Just kidding. Just kidding. You don't want one of those, do you? Do you secretly maybe someday? You might want to hurry up. You're doing this boss bitch thing, selling your clothes, which apparently is, paying you very well. I mean, seems like, well, I looked you up one time. Seems like I looked you up one time. I either did or I didn't. And it said like you're worth millions, so, I can believe that. Even if you're not worth millions, you're probably doing pretty good because you've got your online stuff and then you've got a brick and mortar store. Do you live there? See, New York is kind of weird. They've got, like weird buildings and stuff. Like the guy that owns the pizzeria downstairs and lives in the apartment upstairs. The guy, we've all heard that story of the guy who owns the pizzeria downstairs and lives upstairs. And doesn't make much money, but doesn't have too much overhead and, too many employees and, has customers, all day. I don't know. I'm just whatever. But yeah, I guess that's, you got it going on. And that's just, kind of something that you were interested in. You started off, hitting the streets, and you had that old van, and you'd go to thrift stores in Vegas back when you lived in Los Angeles. Why'd you go all the way to Vegas? Just for the experience? Or is there like, they have like conventions there? Or just sort of, living your best life now, just like, why not? Did you drive or fly? I forget how long of a drive it is. It's a long drive. It's like 4 hours or something like that at least. 6, 8, hell, I don't know. I'm a truck driver. I don't know that shit. I didn't take that route a whole lot, though, between Vegas and Los Angeles. But, yeah, I don't know. Are you 10 years from now? Are you 20 years from now? Because you'll still probably have your clothing line, but eventually, your beauty's going to fade. And you will just be like an old chick, so some, 16 to 18-year-old girl or 22 to 25-year-old girl, even if you're all hot and shit, they might not be interested in buying clothes and supporting, some cougar, or some old chick who's in her 30s. Gross. They might want to support somebody of their own age, just like out of principle, or maybe their friends might find out that you bought clothes, or some sort of trinket or little purse or shoes, from that old chick, even though you might still be, looking good, and you'll try and cover it up with makeup, but that's like obvious shit, and then you'll just sort of go through phases, like right now you're fine, right? And I've seen you without makeup and you look fine, you get that kind of cute, you had kind of a cute round face, when you were younger. I've seen pictures of you when younger. And, you're cute, you're attractive. So, but, have you thought about that? What you want your future to look like? So, I know what my future's going to look like. Bleak and empty. But that's what I was made for. It's what I was born for. I know there's probably a hoe or two thinking, no, it's not. It's really, really not. Probably fucko, because she's just hopeless, a hopeless case, and I just don't care. She's not really, she's on the list, but I don't like mention her or anything like that. She's just out there. I absolutely don't care. She can waste her whole life. Well, what I think is going to be the deal with her is I'm just sort of, I'm almost going to be like porn for her. I'm just going to sort of be this like, I'm like, the celebrity, that chicks fantasize about, or guys, it's like, there's just no chance, I mean, no, it's just a thought, like I said in my audio presentation the other day, I'm not in love with you, just I'm in love with the idea of you, which is just something that I just sort of puked up, I just sort of said that, because I do think about that, but then there's theory, and then there's practice, so, and, there's logistics between you and me, girl, not to mention distance, so, and roots, okay? I have a house, and my family is here. Don't have any friends. Used to, but just sort of blah. I'm a lone wolf. I mean, right? Sigma male, which actually I would consider myself a Sigma, just not a cool one. I'm not the guy, on the YouTube videos. Sigmas have found out that if you sleep 4 hours at a time, because like they said, there's different levels. There's just your basic Sigma videos. Sigmas don't get no shit about no bitches. Sigmas focus on themselves, fitness and personal growth and blah, 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 blah. And bitches automatically throw themselves at them. And then there's the ones that are fucking hilarious that really go into depth. And I haven't heard this, but it's just an example. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again for the cheap seats. They really go into depth. Sigmas, have found out that if you sleep 4 hours at a time and then get up and meditate for 30 minutes and then go back to sleep, your dick gets bigger, or some shit like that, And it's always a robotic voice, like just above and beyond, just comical, just, oh, yeah, but, and it's got the cartoon, of the, Giga Chad, and the girl who's just like, hee hee, oh, with the hard eyes, You should check it out if you want to. It's funny. But yeah, I am definitely Sigma. Not Alpha. Not even close. Definitely Sigma, though. So this is my future bestie, Cool Breeze. You look at that little man and think, oh yeah, that's beta gamma boy all the way. But no, he's Sigma. So I'm gonna call him one of these days. We'll, go fishing and hiking and stuff. There's a lot of stuff to do here in the great state of Colorado, and he knows people here. Problem is, I don't want to know any of them. No, you and me can hang out. I don't want to hang out with your other fucking friends, especially seeing as he has some weird ability to make friends with like high caliber people. Like he in the past he said that, like he's friends with, like he knows like a submarine captain, an airline pilot, a fighter pilot, a ship admiral, a fucking hiker. I think he's actually friends with the Dos Equis most interesting guy, like literally. God, I think he's friends with like a former special forces dude. I know these are all like military type related stuff, but it seems like there was other shit. He is friends with this pitiful little man who lives in Chicago, where you do. He's an accountant. He seems like the type of dude you would date. I remember they used to do these videos where they were both on camera, and he just has this look like, and he would. I don't know if he was doing it on purpose, if he was looking at himself, but he would look at these crazy eyes, But yeah, total dork. I forget his name. Nope, I just remembered it. I should check him out. I should go, watch his stuff. But yeah, and again, that when you look at a guy like that, and and I'm not going to name drop him, plus it's his actual name, and I'm sure he's probably still friends with him, but he lives up there in Chicago. I just thought of something. There's an in. Katie Boo, there's an in. If I quit fucking around and give my future best Cool Breeze a call and just say, drop him a line on YouTube or whatever. Say, hey, look, I've been a fan and a subscriber for quite some time. I live in Colorado. If you ever find yourself, coming through and needing a place to stay, because that's what he would do, is he would crash with friends. I got a just a regular couch or a couch that folds out into not a futon, a sleeper. And, I need to get beds in my bedrooms, and stuff. And we'll, go do something. And then, I can kind of, get to know people and whatnot, and maybe, I'll plan a trip. Now, I'm going to have to get a job here pretty soon. See, when I was working for Walmart as a driver, wouldn't want anybody to think I was a cashier. When I say Walmart, people tend to think, okay, low life, but it's like, no. Not me. But, it was real easy because I could just take PTO time. It's like, just give me enough time. And I was on that schedule where I was working, 4 on, 1 off, 6 on, 10 off. And I worked it that way because of the PTO. It was actually 6 on, 1 off, 6 on, 8 off. But I would work it far enough in advance. So that was my schedule for a year, Katie Boo. I worked 4 days, was off 1 day, worked 6 days, was off 10. So I wasn't making $100,000 a year, but I was still making like 70. But that was a good job. I really fucked myself, by getting that DUI. I really and truly did, and the 401k, like I said, I did the math, I can still make that kind of money with my 401k. Well, with my mutual fund. My 401k, no. I'm thinking with my other company, I was making about half that. But with my mutual funds, I make about the same, and that combined with 401k, but I'm working now, so, oh yeah. Because it's compounded, right? So the more money you put in, well, you can only put in a max contribution, but it depends on how much they match, so, and that goes for mutual funds too. But there's rules to that shit. But anyway, and I don't really understand them, but I kind of do. Like over the last year, it's like, yeah, I did well. No, I don't really know what did what and this, how did this, that, but say, okay, yeah. But anyway, that'll be, we can plan something, and I can, meet him up there, and we can all go up and visit. He's an accountant, okay? What a dorky job, That sounds like a guy you would date, or maybe not. Maybe, I don't know you from nothing. Maybe you date macho. Maybe you've dated a whole array of people. Well, Mrs. Butthead comes to mind, She's, and that's just the 3 people. Let's see, a pussy, well, 2 pussies. They were both kind of dorks, but the one was like total dork. One was a literal gremlin. Either that or a leprechaun, I'm not sure. And of course, she's, married to the Greek god now. So, which, by the way, as far as Greek god standards goes, he was, probably a runt, probably kicked out of the group. And then, Mrs. Butthead swooped him up. Oh, my God, When really, as far as his peeps go, it's like, he didn't make the grade. So. Where he comes from. Yeah, he used to live in the mountains with the yaks and the castles and the wizards, with the staffs that shot lightning, out of their hand and stuff. He used to be part of that group, but he was outcast. But as far as Mrs. Butthead is concerned, he is one special boy. Which, by the way, Mrs. Butthead, I don't know if it's filters or what, but you look like a skinny chick now. Like, you look skinny and shit. Damn, you're not pregnant. Unless it's all filters and shit. I don't even know. But I don't know. I don't know why you do that. No, I don't necessarily mean with the pregnancy, but I mean, God, that one picture is like you were ballooned up, like you had thighs like a fat chick, you know, and your ass was just crazy, you know, like a cartoon. Now you're like thin and shit. It's like you ain't got no hips and shit. So you crazy. So must be on vacation somewhere near the ocean, because that's a tuna, and those are in salt water. So you took a vacation somewhere where they had alligators. So that would have been like Florida or Louisiana, somewhere down there. But does the Gweed own a boat, or do you rent one? Or do you know someone who has one, or you, or him, or possibly Kleber? Seems like you took a vacation with her once, maybe twice. I don't know. She's your best friend. How's she making out? I suspect she's just barely getting by. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, man. You know, maybe there's a market for chicks, you know, who want the vagina wax experience. You know, like a barber, right? If she like cut hair, people generally can't cut their own hair, at least not very well, right? But there's guys who go to barbers who get a haircut and a shave, you know, and they do it for the experience. So I guess it might be the same with chicks, only in the southern regions, you know. I don't know. Bitches be crazy. From head to toe. No pun intended. Or pun intended. What causes a broad to get into that? Pardon the pun. Now that would be more your department. Guy shows up, you know, for the Gold Star Bronzer special. What causes a guy to get into that? Well, she had easy written across her forehead. We're married now. This Greek god did good for himself. Ma, I met a girl. She's gonna give me grandbabies. Oh my God, I'm so happy for you, darling. She's such a sweet girl. Oh shit. Yeah, he's gonna stay with her, and she's definitely gonna stay with him. You got your whole life in front of you. A somewhat young, you know, budding couple. A family in the future. Trips to Disneyland. You better hurry up and get pregnant, though. Otherwise, that kid is gonna, you know, be a Disneyland kind of kid. You know what I'm saying? But you're kind of up against the wall. I mean, maybe not so much anymore. You know, you two birds have probably kind of calmed down a bit. Although there's no kids on the scene yet. So, and like I said, even when there's kids, you know, I don't know what your babysitter situation is. If you can have Clee, you know, watch the kids. Does she, you know, it's just, I don't know what her deal is. She have a man, she married, she want kids. Sounds like she wants kids, because of the whole, oh, it's not fucking out. Like she was in a relationship, and maybe, you know, she found out that he was one of them stupid, silly boys, you know, and he, I don't know, cheated on her or whatever. You know, was it caramel cream dream? You know, a guy like that, you know, you do have to be careful with guys like that, you know. No, I can tell you as a blue pill simp, you know, or no, I was a segment. But for the time being, I'll pretend to be from the perspective of a blue-pilled simp, you know, beta, gamma, whatever. You got to be careful of them hot boys, because they fucking cheat on you and shit. Boy like me would love you good like. So, and yeah, the Gweed he is above the line, you know, where he could get, I mean, you know, like I said, you just have easy written across your forehead. Okay, here's a chick, you know, I can, you know, I can get it in with. But anyway, 20 minutes in, I've been yammering away. Guess I'll get up and start my worthless, pitiful, meager day. It's late. I went to bed late last night, around like midnight, but then I woke up like around 10:30. So, damn dog, that's cool. I just, it is what it is. My armpits smell like cornflakes for some reason. I don't know what that is. It's like consistent. It's like a slight mixture of BO, like regular sweat, and cornflakes. I don't know why that is. That's weird, huh? And somebody went crazy with the Cheez Whiz with fucking videos, and it's all just one, Like I said, I don't know who my fan base is. I kind of talk about, the girls, right? This group of people, which may or may not exist. It's like probably 5 or 6, ranging in age from 22 to like 54. And they all get together once a week, and they take turns bringing the wine. And they bring a bottle, and between the 6 of them, they drink the whole damn thing. And every week, somebody else brings a different bottle of high-end wine. And, they put me up on the TV, and they've got like a big, like 80-inch TV. Well, they switch going to people's houses. And the youngest one, the one who's 22, the mousy chick, who has glasses and wears her hair in a ponytail and is, let's just say an accountant or maybe a banker and a yoga instructor, who, she lives in an apartment. And it's like just a mid-range apartment. So she's kind of like, she's kind of embarrassed. But it was like, oh, girl, you're young yet. You'll find a man to marry and divorce, You've got good things in the future. You're attractive. You've got a bubbly, kind personality. You can cook. You're a yoga instructor. Blah blah blah. You'll get there. There's no shame. They're supportive. Versus the other ones, who range in age from upper 20s to, like I said, the oldest one, 54, who's actually still married. Has what would you call it? A mistress instead of a mistress. A mistress. I don't know. And she's part of this group, they come together and they put me on the TV and they just listen to me talk. And they talk about what they do to me sexually, emotionally, and just how they would love me and fuck me. And they just get together and get a little tipsy and laugh. And, oh, girl, you do that? Well, this is what I would do, And, some of them are divorcees. But, the mousy chick, she's like at the bottom. She's the newest. She's not established yet. She's dating. She's in a relationship. She's never been married. And I'm talking to you, girly girl. I don't know what your name is or where you live at, but, she's serious. She's like, you know what? I could do this. This is the modern day. A lot of people hook up online. Like, they meet their mate, through Instagram, and TikTok and shit. So she's like kind of secretly, like, she says what she's saying. And the girls do kind of notice that it's more like, like when she gets done telling her story about what she do to me and how she do it. Everybody's like, there's like a moment of silence, like, damn, girl. So that's probably who it was. So, anyway, damn, feels good to be a gangster.